Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Cory.
And I'm Matt. And each week this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, rev our engines, or just need a bit more conversation.
And on this week's episode, I believe the topic revs my engine and grinds your gears.
Yes.
I believe is the ultimate landing point. But I want to preface this episode before we get down and dirty into exactly what's going on in this week's episode. So
all right.
Rewind, I will say, to when we were recording last week's episode. You showed up on your phone with the build and price of a certain vehicle pulled up on your phone because you had, for the better part of that day, been tweaking and building and pricing and dreaming. And
yeah, a little bit.
And the vehicle in question was
a cheap truck.
Yes.
Well,
a 2021
as cheap as trucks can be in 2021. Yeah.
Right. But a 2021
it was
Chevy.
Chevy Silverado. Right.
Lifted truck, correct? Factory lifted truck.
Yes.
Okay. Since that time, you and I have recorded an episode. It was last week's episode with our good friends over at Brake Check, Brian and Craig.
I feel like you're trying to corner me here.
No. I'm just painting a picture. Painting a picture. I got my roller. Maybe going too fast, slinging some overspray around the room, but just painting a picture.
Oh, boy.
And we recorded an episode with our friends from Brake Check Show, and your whole build and price thing was from their prior episode that they had a Silverado Custom, which is, to your point, the cheap truck.
Right. It's not the work truck trim, but it's the step up from that.
Right. With barely anything on it.
Right.
And their particular loaner was a Trail Boss, so factory lifted by an inch.
Right.
And
different wheels and tires, and that was about it.
And then the Realtree Camo Edition.
Which I left off of mine.
Right, because why?
Yeah.
So
it's $2,500 for stickers and running boards.
I know, and you could sticker it up yourself and truly make it custom. But yeah, all terrible jokes aside, that's where you were. That was your mindset last week. And then, since recording...
Within 24 hours of us recording that episode...
Chevy went and did a thing and told the world about it.
They did.
To which the conversation picked back up between the four of us.
It did. We had a little mini episode via DM on Facebook. Yeah.
Right. That unfortunately, all of you listening to the sound of our voices were not around for because it was a blast. Just kind of listening to it all. I was out shopping for a bicycle for a future project we will get to at a later date. But I started it. So I got the email with the press release because I get notifications anytime I get a press release email. I immediately pulled it up because it piqued my interest.
Right.
Anytime Chevy announces something, GM fanboy over here, I'm like, ooh, what's this?
Right.
And it was the announcement of, and I'm going to cringe saying it, but it's how they put it in copy, the first ever Silverado ZR2, which is just hokey promotion. The first ever. No, stop. Anyway, off that soapbox. Chevy announced a ZR2 edition of the Silverado.
Right.
Which we've known about for a while. We've seen the writing on the wall that Chevy was going to do something.
Something, right.
And again, putting my fanboy hat on, painting the picture of what Chevy's been doing. They've been sitting this one out. Ford came out with the Raptor, which it was originally going to be like a one-off, like special edition. It caught on like wildfire, and they said, well, if people are going to be paying 60 plus for a truck back first gen when that
2010,
was they just kept making them. People kept buying them. Like the first ones only came in an extended cab short bed configuration because they were Baja racing truck. They wanted a short compact wheelbase, relatively speaking. And then, they made the crew cab and sales went nuts. Now we're on the third gen of the Raptor. Ram has come to the table with the TRX, which completely different beast altogether.
Right.
Also insane, also awesome. But the off-road full-size truck wars have officially begun, and GM was over twiddling their thumbs. Still.
Okay. They have not officially begun now. They began 11 years ago when Ford came out with the Raptor.
But how is that the wars? That's just like shots fired. That's them playing off in Baja all by themselves. There's nobody fighting with them at that point. Ford introduced the segment.
They drew the line in the sand.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
With some pretty awesome
extra
tire tracks.
wide track. Okay.
So, yes. Ford started it. Ram was ironically the next to answer. You would think it would be Ford's main rival in Chevy.
Right.
But no, Chevy went and gave us a tease with the Colorado midsize.
Right.
With the ZR2.
Right. Cop out.
You say is a cop out. I say is going into uninfested waters.
I'll say this with air quotes, and you can't see my air quotes, so I'm going to say air quotes before I say this. Creative marketing.
Yes. But it was an astounding package for what it is. One, it goes up against nothing, really. The TRD Pro is probably the next closest of kin. And the DSSV Multimatic shock absorbers in the Colorado ZR2 are nuts, to borrow one of your phrases.
Yes.
They make on-road driving smooth. They make off-road high-speed driving a breeze. And
anytime you put Formula One technology in a pickup truck, good things happen.
Yes, yes. So, like, completely capable truck, which had everyone going, yeah, but what about the Silverado?
Exactly.
And when Chevy announced the 2019 Silverados, especially with the Trail Boss, everybody's like, okay, but what?
Cop out. It was cop out number 2.
Where is the Raptor fighter? And by that point, we're like, Ram is brewing up something. Come on, get
Where's
in the game.
At?
And you and I have a good friend who's been on the podcast a couple times, Bill Taylor, the vehicle nanny.
Yeah.
Last known employee of the Saturn brand. His father is the father of the K5 Blazer.
He's General Motors celebrity level kind of guy.
He's got cred in the arena. His big thing with Chevy here lately is quit using internal production codes as model names and like be original with your marketing, which the last time Chevy did that, they came out with the Trail Boss and everybody gave them flack for calling it the Trail Boss. Yeah. So, teeter-totter.
Right.
Bill, I hope you're listening to this, calling you out specifically. I don't disagree with you. But I also like one of my favorite cars ever is the 69, specifically Camaro Z28, which again, they made a 67 and a 68 Z28, but they didn't have badges. It wasn't like a thing. It was when the public started catching wind of, hey, this is how you need to find this internal production order code, Z28.
Yep.
To get the really cool one with the 302 engine and all the good bits.
Right.
And now Chevy's just leaned all in. That's what the Z71 is. It's an internal production code. Corvette Z06, internal production code.
Right.
They've just given up on marketing. They're like, okay, what was our marketing code? That's what we'll call it. So, like I said, I'm not disagreeing with you, Bill, but on the flip side of the coin, when left to their own devices, they give us Trail Boss. So there's that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's no, T-Rex, TRX, or Raptor.
Okay, so the whole TRX thing, there is a TRX Ram 1500 right down the street from where you and I sit right now.
Is there?
Yes, but it is not what you are thinking.
No,
TRX.
It's probably like a 2003 snow package.
Right. Yeah. TRX just used to be some obscure little decal package on the Ram, and they recycled the name.
Dodge is pretty good about doing that kind of thing.
Which just so happened to coincide so well with the whole Raptor dinosaur theme that Ford was doing.
Yeah.
So, kudos to whoever resurrected that code.
Yeah. I guess the risk would be, as you mentioned, if GM left to their own devices, would have picked a dinosaur name, it would have been like Stegosaurus or some pterodactyl or something crazy like that.
my son, 3 years old, is into dinosaurs as of late, and we have a lot of plastic ones around, and he's always asking, well, what's this one called? So we've, done the research with Ankylosaurus and what's the one with the horn on its head? There's a cartoon song that goes with it. I'm not gonna I can.
What's the song, Cory?
If I could remember the name of the dinosaur, I would sing the whole chorus for you. I do remember. Parasaurolophus. It's a mouthful for all of us. Terrible song, but he loves that video. But it's got the one with that swooping. It looks like a leaf spring on its head. Trucks. See what I'm doing here? I'm tying it all together.
It's worse than GM stuff.
Yeah, I try. So anyway, all that to say, I am partial to a certain one of his toys. I looked up the name of what type of dinosaur it was.
Okay.
Corythosaurus.
Oh my goodness.
So GM, you have my permission to jump in the dinosaur naming ring with the Corythosaurus.
No.
And they even spell it Cory.
Oh my goodness.
So they spell it right. So yeah, you brought it up. I just had to tie it in.
You're creeping very closely to the mute button edge
I'm
here.
surprised you haven't already pushed it on me. All right, so.
Enough about dinosaurs.
Yes. Well, yes and no, because this is a little bit of a dinosaur in that it's a full-size truck. So I'm kind of bringing it back around. No. Anyway, I'm going to stop.
The dad jokes are strong this episode.
I know. I've been on solo daddy duty while my wife's been out of town for work, and it's just amplified my powers. What can I say? But, yes, Chevy announced.
You said duty.
Yes, I did. And we digress. Chevy announced the first ever Silverado ZR2. So, as its name implies, it has the same suspension type setup that the Colorado ZR2 has. Big plus. And has same front bumper elements as the Colorado ZR2 with the kind of cutouts.
Right.
For
like somebody took an axe to the front corners of the bumper.
Which if you squint at it, it looks perfectly fine. And, they blacked it all out like the
to try and
Trail
hide
Boss,
how ugly it is.
Which, yes, hides its unique styling.
It's awful.
It's different. Actually, part of the cap on the ends of those actually do come off. So there's that too. So
it makes it worse.
Yeah. But so it's got several themes, just full size-ified for the Silverado, and then they also, while they're at it, finally upgraded the interior across the line to compete with the upgraded interiors of the F-150 and the Ram 1500. And yeah, we'll talk about the interiors here in a little bit. But the real subject matter at hand is the fact that Chevy has answered the off-road truck wars with this ZR2, which I was thoroughly enjoying the conversation between the three of you, Matt, Brian, and Craig. And I was just, sitting, listening to it all, taking it all in. Again, I will remind the listening audience, GM fanboy over here,
right,
would be happy with a Trail Boss myself, the LT Trail Boss, not that custom nonsense.
Right.
Yeah. And they showed this off, and I'm like, okay, you have my attention. And I dug into the information, and I'm like, all right, I like it for what it is. Knowing that it is not set to compete with the TRX, because by no means does the 6.2 liter V8 that they put under the hood compete with the 6.4 liter supercharged 702 horsepower screaming banshee of a thing that is the TRX. So I knew those weren't competing.
Right. Hashtag Hellcat all the things.
Right. And knowing that, to your point, they really didn't do much, if at all, or at all, to the frame, to beef up the frame or stiffen the frame for like Baja crazy stuff there. So maybe not so much a Raptor crazy competitor, but maybe because it got me to thinking. So they brought in Hall Racing to be integral in the design and specifications of this. So I'm wondering, is the quote-unquote base Silverado frame up to the spec of, say, a Raptor, whereas Ford maybe quote-unquote cheapened the everyday F-150 frame. And so, like, frame to frame, comparing a Raptor to the ZR2.
It seems like some really deep speculation going on.
I'm just saying, you know, they brought in competent off-road racers with a pedigree.
Uh-huh.
I think it would be hard for Chad Hall to give his sign off on something that he did not feel was up to snuff. Plus the fact that they've essentially been racing this truck in front of all of us for a couple of years now and just not telling us all the details of it. So it's been there. It's done that. It's gotten the t-shirt, so to speak.
So to speak.
So it's more a Raptor competitor than it is a TRX, but the TRX competes in its own league. I'm kind of digging it. And then to my final point of Chevy's done their research in the market. When they were announcing this, would you believe that 30% of Silverado buyers since 2019 have opted for a Trail Boss? 30%. That is a big number.
Yes.
I did not expect that many, but thinking how many I see on the road, it tracks.
Sure.
Another 30% are just Z71 equipped, which is a slightly better suspension, better in theory tires and skid plates, and a few electronic bits for off-roading.
Right. And the Trail Boss is just a lift kit.
Right.
On top of that,
right.
basically.
So 60%
sure.
of Silverados since 2019 model year have been of the off-road variety.
Right.
With some sort of appearance or to them. And I know I've had conversation, like legit conversation with people who just want a truck with that quote off-road look, but didn't really care about the pedigree of it, which speaks to why so many Trail Bosses around here have 20-inch wheels and those terrible tires that they put with them. So I'm thinking Chevy is just leaning super hard into that we want the look mindset with a little bit of, let's face it, pedigree behind it. Again, Chad Hall Racing signed off on it. The approach angle on this is the same as Gen 3 Raptor, which is 31 degree, I believe, is what it's.
Is that at the tire out on the corner with that goofy notch out of the bumper, or
it's taking the front skid plate and bumper into account in that 31.8 degree approach angle, 23.4 degree breakover, 11.2 inches of ground clearance. So it does have an additional half inch of ground clearance over the Trail Boss. And then every full-size truck's Achilles heel, the 23.3 departure angle.
Sure.
But you know, the forklift slot bumper that everybody makes fun of,
right?
It's gone. They put turn downs back there. So it's just solid bumper, which I approve of. So no forklift.
Well, the turn downs was what there were anyway,
essentially.
Except they were
pointed through a forklift hole.
Faux square-ish holes. Yeah.
So again, it's got the pedigree. I think it will do more than adequate in the sales, especially like, look, they can't make them fast enough to sell them right now as it is anyway. How many dealer lots around your town, listening audience, are completely empty or have 5, 10, 15 vehicles on the lot? I know our local Chevy house has a huge gated off section that is normally packed with Silverados. That is so barren right now. It's depressing. Like it's just where we are here in 2021, that with this chip shortage, like nobody's got vehicles anyway. So if you get one of these, you're doing something right.
Are you done?
I'm done. Go ahead. Bash away.
Okay.
I will rebut, but go ahead.
I'm going to start with, they've had 11 years
Yes.
to come up with something that remotely reflects what Ford has had for 11 years. They have had the initial cop-out of the ZR2 Colorado to test and process, which is what I said it was originally when it came out. They didn't want to go head-to-head with Ford, so they made a small truck with all the Baja-inspired stuff on it. And it's a pretty sweet little truck. Why did it take so long to get to the point of bringing out a truck that we still haven't decided where it fits necessarily?
Yeah.
Because it's not Raptor level desert runner kind of thing.
I mean, making the De Niro face over here. It may be more so than you and Brian, especially Raptor owner, gave it credit for. I think well, I know it's definitely more Raptor than it is TRX. Because, again, the TRX is its own beast.
But that's simply a horsepower thing.
No. Yeah.
That's a horsepower thing.
I mean, yeah and no. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the difference between the TRX and the Raptor? 250 horsepower.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Massive.
But they both have terrain control. They both have four-wheel drive.
Both
they both
meant to jump. And,
both meant to jump, selectable, lockable, this and that, and gadgets and gizmos, and Baja-inspired this and that, and 33-inch tires, yada, 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 yada. The difference between the TRX and the Raptor is 250 horsepower.
Which Ford plans to remedy with the Raptor R, which they've already confirmed is coming, but they have told us nil about.
Right.
Speculation abound.
Sure. But absolutely. GM has had 11 years to come up with something to compete with. To compete with the Raptor and the TRX, and this is what they come out with?
I think it resonates with the Bowtie faithful quite well. Again, it's got my interest, does not have my money, and it is leaning into, again, it's got the pedigree, but it's leaning into the people that are like, I want something that looks tough. Give me something that looks tough. This absolutely does. And it is not formulaic with the Raptor because they have done things just a little bit differently. V8 under the hood is.
I don't think they've done it the right way, though. That's my point.
Okay, so
this is a Silverado. This is a Z71 Silverado with a lift kit and fancy shocks.
Yeah,
that's it.
Okay.
The TRX.
What more do you want?
The TRX and the Raptor both are from scratch built trucks. The only thing that they share with the lesser models is the cab. The interior is specific. The beds are specific. The whole front clip is specific. The frame is specific. The suspension is specific. The engine is specific.
I think you're giving more credit to those two rigs than is due. Like, the interior is the same, especially now that Ram has offered the GT package on the Rebel. You can basically have a TRX interior on a non-TRX Ram. So, no. The F-150, they've all got floor-mounted shifters anyway, so that's not it. I think.
Okay, so let's take the interior out of the mix. It's still a vehicle-specific frame, vehicle-specific suspension, vehicle-specific tuned engine in the case of the Raptor, and vehicle-specific engine in the case of the TRX. This is a Z71 with a 6.2. Is it the 6-speed or the 10-speed or the 8-speed?
10-speed.
10-speed with fancy shocks and a little bit of a lift kit. Like, I'm having a hard time with this one.
So what you're wanting is a more potent engine than the 420 horsepower, 460 pound-foot of torque, 6.2 that already exceeds what Ford has given us with the Raptor because it's got 2 extra cylinders and the sound that everybody wants. Let's face it.
Okay.
They want it.
Okay.
So
I've never been in love with the sound of the twin turbo V6 out of that anyway.
So you want something more than that.
When the TRX came out, it went from awesome
Right.
Baja-inspired
Right.
race truck from the factory with a warranty to holy crap level
Right.
Baja truck that just happens to have a factory backing.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so, again, they've had 11 years
Yeah.
since the Raptor's been out to come out with something to compete with the Raptor. Now, for the past 2 years, is it 2 years, 3 years? We've had the TRX, and
Technically one. It's a 2021 model, but
okay, so for the past 12 months,
Yeah.
we have had the TRX now that takes that up a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
The 6.2 in this truck is the same architecture, the same engineering as the 6.2 that's in the Camaro.
Yep. Well, built for truck duty, but yeah.
Where's the supercharger?
Chevy's leaning into that whole
They're
electric
copping
thing.
out. They're copping out.
So is that your biggest gripe? Is the engine, the power plant?
The whole rest of the truck, it's a lift kit and fancy shocks. There's no built into the frame anything specific there with
Again,
strength wise.
Was the standard frame on par? Like, until we really get these in the hands of journalists right now, all we really know is what Chevy is telling us. And what Chevy is telling us are all the highlights that they have crafted to fit the narrative.
Absolutely.
But again, like I said, they have legit been racing this truck with Chad Hall for at least a couple years now. So it's been there. It's done it, which makes me wonder, okay, surely the standard Silverado frame was strong enough.
Okay, I'll believe it when
the idiot from Pennsylvania jumps
no. But when the TRX and the Raptor and this ZR2 Silverado go flying over the same section of Baja, through the whoops, through the jumps, through the rock crawling sections, take these three trucks and put them through the KOH stuff.
Yeah.
Like, let's beat them up. Yeah. Let's abuse them. Let's figure out, because I don't believe that they've taken the time to engineer this truck to make it compete with the TRX and the Raptor. And they've had 11 years to figure it out.
Okay. It will be interesting to see how that mindset ages as, again, these get into actual non-Chevy employees' hands and people can put them through their paces and do legit head-to-head comparisons. You and I are holding our breath for when we get a hold of one, because I'm putting you behind the wheel of one. And I will say this does address some issues that people have had with GM trucks for at least since 2007.
Okay.
And that is proper lockers, front and rear, in this. So GM for the longest time has been using the Eaton G80 automatic mechanical locker, which is hit or miss.
It's an LSD. It's not really.
No, it's a full locker. When it notices slip, it doesn't limit slip. It is a full on lock. They spin at the same rate. So call it what you want, but it is a full locker that you cannot turn on. That is the problem, is that you cannot say, all right, now is when I need it.
Selectable.
Right.
Electronic locking.
So there's that. There's 33-inch tall tires, which in the whole tape measure game, it's like 35s are nothing now, and it's getting to be 37s are nothing, which...
Hey, if a manufacturer's going to put a warranty behind 40s rolling off the assembly line, I'm all for it.
You and a lot of people.
Bring it on.
Whew, my goodness. Just what you're paying... The markup on those to cover what...
Sure. Yeah. They'll sell like 12 of them, but...
Yeah. So just quick specs of it, straight from Chevy. It's got the standard 6.2-liter V8 engine, 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque with the 10-speed auto. It's got the 40-millimeter DSSV spool valve dampers that have separate spool valves controlling the damping, 3 connected chambers for fluid flow. So yes, like you said, F1 type shocks. Front and rear e-lockers, uniquely tuned springs with those dampers, specific off-road chassis and suspension calibrations, including terrain mode, which allows for one-pedal rock crawling. So they've done a little bit on the electronic side, which I know you don't care about electronics. Different skid plate package to go with that front bumper and increased ground clearance and all that. And yeah, so there's a little bit more than what, you were over there ranting and raving about. But it looks to be an intriguing truck and absolutely is an entry into the segment against those other two.
It's a step in the right direction,
Yep.
but
it really, like, I'm scratching my head because Chevy has flat out said, and now they're kind of backpedaling a little bit, but they flat out said 2035, when California bans all gasoline-powered vehicles, GM says we too are abandoning all light duty. So for your everyday consumer, gas-powered vehicles, petrol-powered, diesel-powered, all that good stuff. Fossil fuel, I should say. It covers it all. They've backpedaled a little bit, but it doesn't leave a lot of room for, like you said, doing something crazy with the engine here. It doesn't leave a lot of room for the next generation Camaro. It doesn't leave a lot of room for what gearheads like us are waiting for and wanting and begging and pleading for. So they've shown what they want their future to be in the Hummer EV truck and SUV, which, my gosh, 1,000 horsepower and crazy 0 to 6.
And nobody has one.
No, exactly. And nobody will for seemingly forever. You will be more likely to see that Volvo V60 that's up on our YouTube channel than a Hummer EV in the next 5 years.
We're going to go full EV. And nobody's going to have an EV for the next 5 years.
Yeah, okay. So get me on this soapbox. So GM came out swinging in this whole EV fight thing, saying, we've partnered with LG Chem. We're building this whole new platform, Ultium batteries, blah, 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 blah. And the vehicle the only electric vehicle that you can still go out and buy from General Motors right now that is full electric is the Bolt, which is frumpy and does not use any of that. It does not have the Ultium batteries. It just had a massive recall for fires. Good thing that it doesn't use the Ultium batteries because that's GM's future. And so again, the company that said we're all in is yet to deliver on anything on that promise. Meanwhile, Ford has quietly given us the Mach-E, which you and I are about to get to sample. By the time you're listening to this, listeners, we will already be in one. So go find us on Instagram and on Facebook and check out my little mileage adventure. And we'll just leave it at that.
Don't call me. You're doing this to yourself. Don't call me.
Matt, I ran out of juice. Bring me a 9-volt.
No, I'm bringing you a gas-powered generator. Let's let you sit on the side of the highway for 12 hours.
So Ford has brought us the Mustang Mach-E, depending on how you slice it, a reasonable Tesla competitor. They're about to bring us the GT and the GT Performance, which is what everyone really wants, is a crazy performance out of an EV. And then they've teased us with the F-150 Lightning, which I have seen in person. I have touched, I have sampled, I have opened the doors and looked underneath. Meanwhile, all we have of the EV Silverado is the teaser footage that is on Chevy's YouTube. For the company that says they've gone all in, where are you, GM?
Cop out.
It's frustrating because Ford is, like I said, they're silently churning out over here. And the reservations on America's most popular vehicle gone 100% EV in the F-150 Lightning are insane. People are wanting that thing badly.
Oh, yeah.
And the mileage claims that Ford has dropped on those is with 1,000 pounds of payload in the bed. So empty, you're going to get better than what Ford is claiming. So,
which is also better than most anybody else on the road at the moment is doing as well.
Hey, Gearheads, we are coming to you again for our second annual car show. GT Garage Talk's Unlikely Heroes Car Show, presented by Car Wash by Kane at Hilltop Church of the Nazarene here in Tyler, Texas. Saturday, October 23rd, 2021, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., this car show will be unlike any other because we are celebrating the vehicles that do all of the dirty work of commuting us around day to day, but get none of the recognition. That's right. We want to see your daily drivers, your beaters, your cars missing body panels and parts, and the cars with warning lights lit up like Christmas on the dashboard. We will be giving out many different awards in different categories like biggest puddle left behind, most missing body panels, or even our $100 cash prize going to the winner of Car Wash by Kane's People's Choice Award winner. This year we'll also have a special addition to the car show, a Touch a Truck event for kids. This will be your kids' opportunity to get up close and personal with some big vehicles they may not get to see any other way. Fire trucks, patrol cars, and more. Entry to both events is free, but you must register your car if you want to be featured in our show and to be eligible for prizes. Registration is only $15, with a portion going to support a local charity. More information can be found at gtgaragetalk.com/carshow. We cannot wait to see you and your unlikely hero out at our car show. There are some shortcomings of Ford's EV market strategy, which, again, go find us on Facebook and Instagram. Follow my story. You will know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's the shortcoming of all EVs at this point.
That aren't called Tesla.
Well,
even Tesla is not immune, but...
Yes, and that is the infrastructure. Mm-hmm. It's non-existent. Especially here in Texas. Like California... It's everywhere. But I don't want to give away too much here, but I'm giving away this. Ford is, yes, they are bringing us a Mach-E for you and I to test for a week. They are struggling on getting it to me here in East Texas because we don't have any DC fast chargers here to top it off after the drive from the Metroplex. So essentially, within an hour and a half's drive of our house,
right,
or of your house,
right,
of Tyler, there are no DC fast chargers.
Essentially, yes, that aren't Tesla.
And for those outside of the state of Texas, an hour and a half is about 100 miles.
Yes. So yeah, it's a struggle that I am about to live firsthand. Again, go find us on Facebook and Instagram. Follow my story and my journey. Find out if and where I'm stranded as you're listening to this.
Yeah. Be paying attention to GT's Instagram so you can go rescue Cory somewhere between here and there because...
You and I have said it for a while. I am definitely more interested in the EV world than you are for the benefits, the instant torque, the fact that you don't really have to mess with gas 90% of the time. It's really the road trip aspect that is the big hang up for most people because as a commuter, electric cars make tons of sense.
Oh, sure.
You come home, plug it in. Doesn't matter at what level you plug it in overnight because if you're only driving 25 miles a day, you'll be charged in the morning.
Sure.
If you forget to charge it once, twice, 3 times, doesn't matter because you've got 200 plus miles of range. You're good.
Most days I cover 8 miles.
See?
All day.
EV would be perfect for you in your current situation.
Yeah.
But you and I live in Texas. Yep. We measure everything in hours, not miles.
Yep.
And again, it is the point of my adventure to see, are we there yet?
I can answer that for you. A big fat resounding no.
My stomach is in knots thinking about, as we record this, I am setting off on the journey tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, my stomach's just in a little bit of knots thinking about just all of it. But we are not here to talk about EVs or spoil what else we are doing on the channel. We're here to talk about
dinosaurs.
Yes, you've been looking at dinosaurs literally for quite some time. Do you
I
care to
Googled-
share?
I Googled ugliest dinosaurs
Oh,
for the sake of naming
okay.
the
Well, I'm glad you. Yes, go ahead.
whatever this GM cop-out truck thing is that you've got over here, the ZR2.
So drop the ZR2 and name it what?
Jayawati.
That almost
don't
sounds
know.
like an EV charger plug type. So,
Sure. No, I don't know. I don't even know if that's how you say it.
Probably not.
Jeyawati. And just go look at the note. You Google it.
Yeah.
Jeyawati. And look at the nose of it and tell me it's not extremely reminiscent of the new Silverado.
All right, pivoting just a little, along with the ZR2 announcement, which was the big announcement of the day, which kind of overshadowed the more far-reaching announcement that Chevy finally stepped up on the interior game in a huge way with the 2022 trucks, which have been rumored for a while. They were supposed to be 2021s. They got pushed back to 2022. And everything from the LT and up. So that custom that you've been pricing is still going to get the old interior. The work truck's still going to get the old interior. But LT and up are getting this new interior, which looks like they stole some designers away from Hyundai Kia in all the right ways. So it has got... This is good marketing for you right here. It has got the widest touchscreen infotainment in the class, which, if you know anything about its two main competitors, the F-150 and the Ram 1500, they're both vertically oriented screens.
Uh-huh.
The Silverado's is horizontally oriented and very shallow on overall height. So yes, while it's 13 inches wide, or diagonally, it's not quite the same. But I kid you not, like looking at that interior, I'm like, that came from a high-end Hyundai or Kia. It just, that long, wide touchscreen infotainment reminds me of the GV80 that you and I were in, and some other Kia Hyundai products that you and I have been in. To me, it looks very classy. Is it exactly how I would have designed it? No, which I think is a little bit of the grimace on your face every time I talk about how much I like the interior. For me, what I would have done, I had an 07 Silverado. I would have classed up the materials because everything was hard touch plastic and terrible back then. But Chevy got high praise when they redesigned the 07 Silverado. They had a two interior approach. The LTZs got the more, suburban, fancier looking dash, while the LTs and everything down below got the more work truck looking dash. So it does not surprise me that Chevy went horizontal with the touchscreen display, because that's how I would have done it in the first place. It's a truck. It's big. It's wide. Like, you can legit sit three people across without worrying about touching, and you've got plenty of room. So, why that wasn't a thing in the first place is beyond me. Why everybody is doing this whole gigantic vertically oriented, which I will say the F-150 Lightning has got the Mach-E's vertical. I will correct myself. The regular F-150 does have a landscape. But
I'm sorry, but when you put a 32-inch TV screen on its edge in the middle of a truck, it's just... it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Which, again, the high-end trucks that are being purchased by the people using these as their everyday commuter vehicle, their family vehicle, they want all the technology just in a big package that happens to be a truck. They know their market. They're going after their market. So it's got a full digital gauge cluster that's customizable, and then that 3-inch infotainment screen.
You know what this excites me for?
What?
And I know you're sitting down already, so talking about something from GM that excites me.
I'm holding my breath to see if it's like a backhanded something.
No, it'll be the bleed over in the next 3 years with the Yukons and the Suburbans and the Tahoes.
Already, I will say the Yukon Denali has got a spectacular interior. Not so much on all the other Tahoe Suburban non-Denali Yukons.
Right.
I could go without that dash.
Yeah.
It's a little...
But even, so at the Tahoe event in the spring, we drove the Escalade with way too many flipping buttons. They were like you couldn't hardly put your hands down.
Too many buttons and not enough knobs.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah. But even in a rig like that, to see some of the update and some of the changes, that'll be refreshing.
You know what's not refreshing, especially on the image of that LTZ you've got pulled up in front of you?
The steering wheel from 12 years ago?
Well, no, not the steering wheel. Look on the console. Just... It's got a dinky, electronically actuated...
Dinky is an incredibly appropriate term.
I will say, if you get...
I feel like I have to have my pinky out when I move it.
Yeah, so, okay, I've given Ford a hard time for their, folding flat so you can have a workspace, console-mounted shifter.
Right.
I am of the mindset I want to have to manhandle a column-mounted shifter in my full-size truck to put it in gear and go. That is what I want. And on the highest trims, which include the ZR2, you've got this dinky, electronically controlled, actuated, console-mounted shifter. I know it's to compete with the TRX and all, but give me the LT Trail Boss with the 6.2 and the front bench seat and the column-mounted shifter, please. So as much as the ZR2 excites me, if I'm spending my money on a full-size Chevy truck, it's probably, like I said, LT Trail Boss 6.2 with a cloth bench seat up front. That's where my money's going.
Wow.
Didn't expect that, did you?
I did not expect the cloth at all, no.
So my current vehicle is the first and only vehicle that I've had with cloth seats in it whatsoever. And I've just, for a truck especially, I've come around on.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had my fair share of leather seats.
Yeah.
That was back when I had the time, capability, mindset to fully take care of them the way they should be and condition and keep them in pristine condition as best I can. But now, especially if I'm going to be getting a truck like this, like it just needs to be as rough and tumble as the rest of the truck, which
I'm pretty sure the leather on the seats in your Cadillac were from American cows because they were extra supple.
Yeah.
And especially fat cows that would have, Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and then I went from that to a Grand Am, which that was probably pleather if we're honest.
Probably.
But I still treated it like it was leather, put the leather cleaner on it like every other weekend and all that good stuff. Leather care, people. It's important. Don't get all the cracks, and old non-cared for leather seats are sad. They hurt my heart. Is what they do. But
I miss that Grand Am.
Yeah, it was a fun car. It would be fun to...
it needed a supercharger.
Oh. Do you remember the Grand Am SCT concept?
That never came about? Yeah. Uh-huh.
It had 4 legit Recaro bucket seats in it. I was like, yes, please. My high school brain wanted that car.
We should build one.
Bad.
We should totally build one.
We should relive our high school days and build all the things that we wanted back when we were stupid and didn't know any better.
2-door.
Yes. Although, the SCT concept I do believe was a 4-door, but I do like the 2-door better.
I
doesn't make sense for...
My 2-door SE was better than your 4-door GT, I know.
No, it was not. Because those 2 letters that are on everything that we do, GT.
Oh my.
So, yes.
Chevy trucks, yeah.
Okay, you've already given your thoughts on the dinky shifter.
Right.
The outdated, which really, it just dates back to 2019, the steering wheel in that.
It's awful.
It's not great. It really isn't.
The whole big rubber button in the middle is just...
The one it replaced... got a lot of flack because it had those rubber-covered buttons for, volume control and,
Right.
and cruise control and all that stuff, which is exactly what Ford put in the Bronco. And everybody's like, oh, it's great. You could just, doesn't get dirt in it. Yeah, it's great. Ma. And I'm like, these people, these people. But yeah, I've not been a fan of that steering wheel. I didn't like the one that preceded it. I only sort of kind of liked the one in my '07 Silverado. More so, less for the design. The design was okay. It was the materials of it, because it was bankruptcy GM.
Well, okay, to that point, you know what I see when I see General Motors products today?
What?
I see, and we've talked about this.
Half-hearted effort.
Well, yes, throughout, but in particular, we discussed about the Rams and the reason that they are a three-peat, on Motor Trend's Truck of the Year, or JD Power or whoever it is.
Right.
3 years in a row now that truck
Trend.
has. Was it Motor Trend? They are the Truck of the Year, and probably 70% of that is the interior on those trucks.
Yep.
So spend an extra $1
Per vehicle.
and make the interior a nice place to be.
Years before Garage Talk was even a hint in my mind, I read an article about the late CEO of FCA when they became FCA, Sergio Marchionne. I don't know. He's Italian. Passed away. But it was his guiding philosophy when he took over the Chrysler bits that Daimler got kicked out.
Yeah.
That they were going to invest in the interior. And that was the first thing they changed on a lot of their vehicles. Like the exterior stayed mostly the same, but they upgraded the interior. And like in that article, they talked about, you said $1. It was essentially that. It was not a lot per vehicle.
Right.
When you multiply that out by the hundreds of thousands of vehicles manufacturers put out,
it was a lot.
It does amount to a lot. But if investing your money in the right places results in increased sales, do it.
Yep.
The current state of the full-size truck wars, to your point, are proof positive that interiors matter.
Yes.
On top of that, Ram they've ditched the leaf springs in the back, which Toyota has come out and said they're doing on the next generation Tundra, and
which is massive. We should do a whole episode on that truck. That is ridiculous.
So those leaked photos of that one that was sitting out of the barbed wire fence where it ought not be unsupervised. Right. You could put a V12 under the hood of that thing.
It's massive.
The schnoz on it is huge. Like, I'm holding my breath that there's going to be a straight 6 under the hood of that thing. In some way, shape, or form.
That would be nice, but I don't expect it.
I mean, they don't really have one in their lineup,
right.
But like, that's where my head goes when I see how just crazy long the cab to the nose is on that thing.
It looks like a Frontier 1.5 times the size of a Frontier. Yeah. Like, it's just maybe even 2 times the size of a Frontier. It's just the proportions on it are ridiculous.
Yeah, it is definitely not cab forward design either.
No,
just, which has me scratching my head. Like, again, off-road wars are upon us.
Sure.
The one they showed us was a TRD Pro, but they selectively showed us one at an angle that you could not tell just how long that schnoz was. I'm like, okay, what's the breakover on that thing? Because goodness,
awful.
Me, that is a long wheelbase, and we're not even talking usable passenger space here. So,
right,
I don't know, but I cannot wait to get a hold of one. I'm hoping we're driving one next month at the truck rodeo.
We shall see.
Honest,
we shall see.
I don't know. Toyota's going to announce it. It would make sense maybe at the state fair because they are now Dallas based.
Right.
The state fair in Dallas. The Texas truck market is huge. The Tundra is built in San Antonio, like Texas, all the things. So it's either going to be the State Fair of Texas, which is where my money is, or and this one definitely just doesn't sound right as I'm saying it, the LA Auto Show in November. Like those are the only things left on the calendar, and we fully expect to see it this year. So
yeah, that makes a lot of good sense.
Yeah. So my money's on State Fair of Texas, which the ZR2 better be at the State Fair of Texas with the amount of money that Chevy pours into the State Fair of Texas. They sponsor the main stage where all the main big highlighting artists go. They sponsor everything around Big Tex. I know Ram is trying to like pay for the belt buckle or something. Ram wants to get some branding on Big Tex. I know that. But yeah, like everything. And kid you not, Big Tex is overlooking, legit, like no joke, overlooking the Chevy booth. Like you walk from the Chevy booth, there's Big Tex looking at you. So
that's creepy.
The ZR2 better be at the State Fair of Texas. And howdy, folks. Yep. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I got my press pass this week. Our press pass. Yep. So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
We went. It's been 2 years, so I'm excited. But yeah, we digress. So, any more thoughts on the interior of the truck?
No. I'll have to see it in person. I mean, to make it better than it is not that big of a hurdle.
Right.
So,
right.
I think even just a little bit of investment will make a big difference on that truck. They're so mediocre. Everything about, like,
I hate the wheels on the High Country. I legit hate the wheels.
when I boil it all down, it's mediocre. The Trail Boss, excuse me, not the Trail Boss, but the ZR2 is not a direct competitor with the Raptor and TRX. It's mediocre. The interior, although I haven't seen this one, but the interiors have been very mediocre. The design, exterior stuff, I think, is primarily just to get attention. It's not really functional necessarily.
Those jowls, as I call them on the side, are actually functional.
Yeah, those are for. But it just anyway. It doesn't do it for me.
Yeah,
but mediocre. Like that's just kind of where I hope my mind has changed. I hope with 2022,
I can't wait till we get our first one, and I'm calling up Ford as soon as we're on the Chevy's calendar. I'm like, bring us the competition. I'll put Matt in the I'll put Matt in the Chevy, and I'll drive the Ford, and we'll try and change each other's minds.
Ooh.
See, challenge has been issued. Ford and Chevy.
Yeah,
bring it. So looking to bring that to you in the very near future as a Garage Talk faithful listener, follower of everything.
You mentioned the State Fair.
Mm-hmm.
There's a car show at the State Fair.
Absolutely, there is.
Somebody else is having a car show too.
Yes. I would believe it's us.
It
right?
is.
Yes.
It absolutely is.
So I believe at the time you're hearing my voice now, you will have already heard my pre-recorded commercial for the car show that I've stuck into this podcast episode. But yes, October 23rd, 2021, our second annual GT Garage Talks Unlikely Heroes Car Show presented by Car Wash by Kane at Hilltop Church of the Nazarene.
I'm getting nervous. It's only like 6 weeks away.
There's a lot that still has to happen.
So much.
But what we need right now from you, if you hear the sound of my voice and you have a car with tons of miles on it, or missing body panels, or a leak that is unexplainable, or maybe explainable. If you are... Nellie Cruz, bless her heart, she now thinks she has been stolen because I've alluded to the fact that both of my key fobs, the unlock button has completely fallen out.
Right.
So now when I unlock it by sticking the key in the door, like you used to have to do,
right,
turning it and opening the door, that sets the alarm off in like warning mode, which is beep, beep,
right,
beep.
Right.
Well, I took just a hair too long because I was trying to get a GT sticker out to give to a fan. And it went into full on I'm being stolen mode, and literally had to Google how to start it up because it disabled everything. It went into complete lockdown mode, and even on the screen it says, see how to reset the anti-theft. And I was like, well, isn't that just great? Because it had been sitting in the sun for at least 4 hours baking. I'm baking because I had been reviewing a vehicle all day out in the heat. And all I wanted was to get in my car and drive the maybe 1 mile home and come sit in the air conditioning and drink something cold. And I couldn't get my car to start because it thought it had been stolen. So if your car is like that, bring it to our show. Sign up. Go to gtgaragetalk.com/car show. Sign your car up. I can't formally announce it yet, but we are oh so close at naming our sponsor, our recipient of a portion of the proceeds from the registration of vehicles. We are giving back to a local charity. We're very close to hammering out those details. Like so close, I want to say it right now, but I can't because it is not official.
Not yet. Don't do it.
But just know that a portion of the proceeds from this event are going to help a local charity. You won't regret coming. It's going to be one absolutely amazing show. We've got some returning guests from last year that I've already made contact with, and I believe some new entrants this year that should be very exciting.
It's going to be pretty sweet.
Yes.
It's going to be pretty sweet.
I cannot wait.
75. I'm holding strong at 75
I'm already, you and I are going to have to pick a day to go out to the parking lot where we're going to hold it at Hilltop Church of the Nazarene and figure out how we are going to get 75 cars in there with adequate space between them.
I want that to be a problem.
I do too.
Absolutely, I want that to be a problem.
So our title sponsor, Car Wash by Kane, is a student-run car wash in White House, Texas.
That's right.
It's by Kane Elementary, if you didn't get that from the name. But yes, so high school students run and operate this thing and keep it going. And so they are doing just an outstanding job on the marketing front for us. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of teenagers' first vehicles show up at our show as well. Yeah. For me, we've already talked about it on episode number 1, our own car histories. It would have been a 91 Cadillac Eldorado. For you,
71 Super Beetle.
So right there, those two vehicles, man, if we could have those two vehicles back in the state that they were when we were in high school, before one went belly up and the other went metaphorically belly up, it would be an astounding show.
It was not a metaphor. It was literally upside down.
No, yours was the one I was talking about first that went belly up. Mine metaphorically went belly up.
Yours puked its guts out across the parking lot.
Multiple times, but we digress. Hit the button, Matt. And with that, we thank you for listening. As always, if you want to keep up to date with what we are reviewing, youtube.com/GTGarageTalk. Facebook and Instagram, both at GT Garage Talk and GTGarageTalk.com. Until next time, bye.